project, kind of light and easy to do. So our finished product will look something like this. For those that can see that picture, this is what we're going to do today.
Cathy, do you use what would we call it, a cream watercolor product or a hard?
For this, there is no cream on there. We're actually going to leave the white. If you are working on a canvas and working with acrylics, then yes, you'll definitely need to put the white on. But in watercolor, the process with watercolor is to leave white. So we will be leaving white.
Okay, but I'm sorry, I didn't say it right then. I always use these little palettes of watercolor that are hard and you have to wet them a lot. But
Yes.
I just got some little tubes where it's a creamy, I've never used these. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, in texture, you mean? They're creamy in texture?
Yeah, they're not hard. They're not a hard little chunk.
Okay.
It's, so I don't know if you can see me. I don't have my,
if you have, oops, sorry. If you have a styrofoam plate or a plastic tray,
right,
then take a little bit. I'll just get a tube of watercolor.
So is that what you use, a tube usually?
No, actually, I start with the tube, but my watercolors go into a tray and they dry, and I'm fine with them drying. I just put a couple of little drops of water before I want to use them.
But does that come from a tube?
Yes, sometimes it does come from a tube. So this is a tube. This is a tube of watercolor. And so I would just put on a little dot. Oops. If I were painting something, I would just put in a little dot about the size of a button, not much bigger than that, because when you add water, it expands. That's the whole name, watercolor. So that will go a long, long way, that little dot of color. So just put a little dot on a styrofoam tray, or maybe styrofoam isn't your thing, a plastic tray, and then just then you can mix, and then you're not wasting either. There's no need to put an excessive amount on. You just need a tiny, tiny bit. It will go, you'll find watercolor is the least expensive of many mediums, unless you're looking at pencil crayons or markers, but watercolor goes a long, long way. So it's very inexpensive. But we're going to start with the mug. So the mug in my picture, I've done this mug in blue, and I quite like the blue. It's fun, it's lively, it had lots of energy. But I would like to show you before we start that you have options. And this is all about creativity. So this art class is about you exercising your own creativity and thinking, and what do you like and what colors would be your favorite. So I've actually done this 6 other times. And in those 6 other times, I've done it in an ochre, I've done it in an orange, I've done the mug in red, I've done it in a brown color. So that's 6 different colors. You can choose a totally different color if you like. I'm going to do today in the blue because I really like the blue. I think of all of them, the blue really stood out for me, but it's up to you. And if we have time at the end, we'll do this exercise of the 6 together. So we'll just see if we have time at the end. If not, then I'll show it again at the end and you can try that on your own. So with that, we'll get started. So first thing we're going to do is paint this mug at the bottom. So we're going to paint the whole mug. So I'm going to just use wet on dry. So I'm just going right into the paint. I'm not wetting the mug first. So I'm going right onto the mug and I'm painting this blue. And I'm leaving that little section out where the sauce is running down. I'm deliberately leaving that. So I'm working around that right down to the bottom. So watercolor is a pretty easy modem to work with. What watercolor does when you use watercolor, so I'm using a brush I'm not happy with. All right, back to fresh paint. Watercolor can be moved around. You'll see as we do this, we'll start to take off a little bit of paint as well. So you can see how you can switch a painting and switch some of your drawing. Relax into this process and just enjoy this. If you're brand new with us today, then welcome. And I just want to remind everyone that this is just a piece of paper. This is art for practice, where if you sell your art, that's wonderful. If you're just starting out and you're just learning new things, then just enjoy and see what you can do. There's lots of different ways that the art can satisfy your soul. So if you're holding your shoulders up tight, just relax. Just take a deep breath. We'll do that now. We'll take 3 deep breaths. So just take a deep breath in and breathe out and drop your shoulders when you do that. You'll find you'll hold your brush different when you do that. We'll take a second deep breath in and out and really drop those shoulders. Just let them go away from your ears. And a third deep breath in and out. And we'll just enjoy that brush moving on the canvas. So we don't need to have a death grip on the brush. We just let the paint move. And you'll find you won't hold it quite as stiff by taking those deep breaths. So if you do find you are stiffening up again, just take time by yourself and take another deep breath. So this is just for practice. This is just for fun. This is just to be in the company of other like-minded people that want to learn something new. And I normally paint sideways and almost backwards, but today I just would like to have it, just have those lines filled in that I can see them. So that's why I'm moving that canvas from the easel for a moment.
Cathy, someone was asking what blue?
It's phthalo blue. Phthalo. Phthalo. Phalo. Thanks, Abby. And thank you to Linda for sending me the pictures today. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Your picture is beautiful. And I do enjoy when I see your pictures. If you send them to me, I will comment on them. I will. I really do enjoy seeing them. And Linda also sent me a beautiful flower that she's got growing. And what a nice way to get through a cold season or a difficult time where you're sitting a lot of time by yourself indoors. So plants really help to make things better. So it's an amaryllis if you're looking for a flower to give a lot of life to your environment. All right, so now that we've got that blue on, we are going to move up. We're going to leave that alone. We won't mess with that. We will come back and we will take some of that color off, but we are going to move up to the spoon. So the spoon is silver, and silver is, you don't necessarily have the color silver in your palette. So we're going to make silver just by using black or Payne's gray. Sometimes I say have Payne's gray, sometimes I say have black. They're really interchangeable. Payne's gray is a little bit lighter. It's not quite as heavy as black. But when we're going to make silver for the spoon, I've got black on my tray. and I'm watering it down. So just with clear water, I'm just thinning it out until it's really a light, light gray.
Which brush are you using now? Is it the same one or you switched it?
No, I haven't, I'm using a number 2 brush.
Number two.
I
I'm
switched
using
that
a
other
number
brush because
six.
I switched my other brush because it had a bristle sticking out, and it's frustrating for me. So I put that aside. So I'm just making a really light gray by adding water to black or Payne's gray, whichever you have. And then we're going to paint the spoon. So you can see it's quite light. We're just painting, we're going to paint the whole thing, but we're just painting around the edges to start so you can see where I'm painting. And again, if you need to, just take a deep breath. It's just a spoon, it's just a piece of paper. We're just painting that spoon, and it's got a little bit of a lip at the top, a little bit of an elbow just at the top there. And because we don't want to disturb that by putting any chocolate on it, we're going to let that one dry as well. Now we'll move to brown. So pull out your brown color. Put your brown on your palette. Have your brown ready. Just have your brown ready. And with the brown, we're going to start to drop chocolate from the top of the spoon down onto our dessert. So you can see it's coming from the spoon. And it's wider at the top, narrows in the middle, and then gets wider again at the bottom. Then we're just going to drizzle some chocolate throughout our dessert. Now it's going to dry like watercolor does, 20 to 30% lighter than when you put it on. So we will come back and we will make it deeper again. And we've just got some dribbles and drabs of chocolate in and around. And we want a little bit, we're just going to use a little tip, a little bit to dribble off the side. Some underneath that little marshmallow up there. Some running down. We just want to have fun with this. This is your dessert. Have you have fun with it? So where would chocolate naturally run? We want to leave room. We've got some strawberry syrup on there as well. We want to leave room for that, but now we're just doing the chocolate. Now I'm going to go into my center of my mug. I'm just going to go at the outer edges a little bit. And I'm going to drag that down, right down to the bottom. I'm going to fill in one side, but I'm going to leave room for strawberry on the other side. So I want to leave a little bit of white still. We'll come back to that and we'll fill that in with the red. So just have fun with it. Just breathe. Just imagine you're creating this for dinner, for after dinner, not for dinner, for after dinner tonight. And then that spoon is probably dry now. So I'm going to go back up to the spoon and I'm just going to do a zigzag pattern at the top. I'm going to leave room. I'm going to let that silver spoon show at the top outer edge. But I'm going to fill the whole spoon right down to the bottom with chocolate. So I want to see that spoon on the outside top left edge. And then I'm going to darken that drizzle all the way back down into my dessert. Now I want this chocolate on this spoon as it's coming down to look, as it's coming off the edge of the spoon to look really rich. So I'm going to mix in my brown. I've got brown. I'm going to put a little off to the side. And I'm going to mix just a touch of black that will give me a dark chocolate look. So only a tiny, tiny touch of black, more brown than black. And on the bottom part of, on the outer side, the right side of the spoon and the bottom part of the spoon, I'm going to give it just a little bit of a darker look. So it's just a little bit darker. And we still have lots of work to do with our spoon. We still have lots of work to do with our sundae. We want to add some red. Let's go into the gray again that we've made, which is the light black mixed with water. And at the side where the chocolate's running down, we're just going to run a little bit of gray. So that's just at the outside of the spoon, just down beside the chocolate. And then we're going to continue with that gray. And where we have lines on in our drawing, we're going to put some gray on a few of those lines, just to indicate some shadows from light. So you can see we're just starting to build, and that's what watercolor is about. We're building on color, one on top of the other. We've got the chocolate, we've got the color of the mug, we've got the lines outside, we've got some shadows, we've got the shadow down the side of the spoon. Then we're going to move to the red, the strawberry syrup. So the red color. And we're just going to pick and choose where we would like, if we were to have dropped strawberry syrup from a spoon in the same fashion where would we have dropped it? So we might have dropped some here running down beside the chocolate. We might have a little bit on this side running down over that marshmallow. We might have a little bit in here running down the side. We might have a whole whack of it on this side where it runs right off the mug and it's going to drip down the side of the mug. We've certainly got a lot at this edge because we know that it runs down beside between the mug and the chocolate. So it's going to run all the way down to the table, to our surface. And you decide when you put that on, if you put it on and you decide you want a little bit extra, or you want to stop where you're at and not put any more, that's fine. Again, this is your creation. This is for your individuality. Nothing is wrong. There is nothing to do that's a mistake here. This is all practice and learning and trying new skills. If at the end of your picture you look and you're not 100% happy with it, then good for you for looking at it with a different eye and deciding that you'd like to try something different next time. That's part of the learning curve with art. Now with those marshmallows that are on there, we'd like to have a little bit of a soft look, almost like a toasted look. And so I'm mixing water with my brown. So I'm adding more water to the brown and making it a really light color. And that's going to give me a toasted look. So on the top of some, or even a caramel syrup look. So on the top of some of those marshmallows, I'm just going to add a little bit of this light brown. Just a little bit here and there. And I don't need to do too much, but I do want to have the look that some of those marshmallows are toasted on the top, or it's a bit of caramel syrup, or whatever you decide you're putting on your dessert. Now I'd also like to add some nuts to my sundae or my dessert. So I'm going to mix brown and black together. Not in a dark brown, but just this is about mixing colors together. So I want something that maybe looks a little bit like a walnut. And I'm just going, or a chocolate chip, and I'm just going to put some dots in and around my picture. So they're kind of like sprinkles. Not too many, just enough to make it look fun. Now I'm going to use my larger brush and I'm going to dip it in water and I'm going to rub just plain water onto my mug. So I'm looking for, with my mug, I want to be able to take some of that paint off so I have a lighter effect in the center. And if something happens and you're doing this, and you take off more color than you want, once it's dry, we can add more color back in. But I want to have the look of a light source on my mug. And because it's on one side, I need to balance it and also do that on the other side. I'm just taking off paint just to give a light source. So I'm dipping my brush in clear water. I'm tapping off the excess clear water with a paper towel. I'm going on to my art, wiping that paint off, going back over and over until I have the look that I want. I'm going to do that same technique just at the top part of the spoon. I want it to look like some of that chocolate has left already. And on my gray spoon, my silver spoon, I need to give a little bit of a shadow just at the top. I'm going to take off a little bit of gray in the middle, just a little bit. And it takes a little bit of practice to do it, but that's what will make you better at it. And then also on my handle of my spoon, I'm just going to just take a little bit of paint off in the center of that. So while you're taking off, we're halfway through. We still have lots to do, but I'm going to read from my May You Know Joy meditation cards for every day. And today the card that I pulled out was creativity. So creativity. May you know the force of your creativity. There are so many colorful ways for you to express your ideas and your feelings and your energy. What colors will you use? How will you move? What mood will you evoke? How will it be different from yesterday? You are creating every moment of your life in everything that you do. You hold the palette and wield the brush. Be passionately creative. I hope you enjoyed that. That seemed very appropriate for an art class.
That was very nice. Cathy,
Yes.
were you, I'm a little behind because I was, trying my perfection. You have like a pinkish, you have a red and a brown, and then in the cup, is it a pinkish color?
It is brown. I've hit the red with my brush. So I can turn it brown just by adding a little bit more brown on top. It's not supposed to be pinkish, but I'm not so worried about perfection. If it turned out in a pink shade because I hit the red, then that's okay.
So what shade is it?
So it's brown. It's brown. I've just hit the red while I was painting, but make it brown because it'll give you a nice effect.
Thank you, Cathy.
You're welcome.
Someone's asking, is there a watercolor light brown? I'm not sure what the question's referring to, but
Brown with water added to it will give you light brown. So just thin it out and you'll find it will go lighter. There are many shades of brown, but if you just work with one, you can get many different shades from just one color. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, with brown, not watered down, back to the brown, the dark chocolate brown. And we're going to start to have some fun with our chocolate. So our chocolate off to the side is running off the mug. So we can even make that a little thicker at the top and have it be a real good hunk of chocolate that's going to run down and it's going to drip right. We're going to leave a little gap and it's going to drip right onto the handle of the mug and run down the mug and then drip off the mug and a few drops, and then we're going to get a little puddle of chocolate at the bottom. So again, that's this chocolate drip running down, coming off the edge, hitting the handle of the mug, running down the mug, and then dripping off the mug in drops into a puddle at the bottom. Our chocolate that's running down the center of our picture, we're going to start to deepen that. So come up with the straight dark chocolate, no watering down, right down again, right to the bottom of the mug. And we're going to make another puddle at the bottom. We're going to make the puddle more off to one side. And then we're going to do the same thing with our strawberry syrup. It's running down the side. When we come down to the bottom, we want a puddle of strawberry syrup at the bottom where it's dripped, run and dripped. We just put too much. It was too much fun. And we've got our other drip on the other side that's run off the mug, and it's dropped a little drop down at the bottom too. Now, anytime we have an object sitting on a surface, we need to ground it, because right now this mug looks like it's not sitting on anything. So we need to give it a little bit of a surface. So with our gray, or our Payne's gray or our black mixed with water, a fair bit of water, we want this effect. We want this light of a gray, quite light. And we're just going to run our brush back and forth a little bit, just lightly. Just sort of a scrubbing, light movement. Just give a little bit of a surface. So we just want, it looks like a shadow at the bottom of our drink. I'm just fixing my mug because it looks like the top of my mug wasn't even. So we can adjust that. I can make my mug a little bit bigger so that it's level. And that's part of some of the adjustments that we can do with watercolor. We can change and move things around and add and shade and now the bottom surface, the gray, we've got the chocolate that's run down. We've also got the strawberry syrup that's run down, but we also need a little bit of the shade of the color that's in our mug. So if you've done a green mug, you'll want green at the bottom. If you've done a blue mug, you'll want some blue. So again, just with a light touch of your brush, we just want to add a little bit of that color in and amongst at the bottom of our picture. So it picks up the color of the mug as well. And we still have time, and so I had said if I could, I would like you to do a second one. Or if you just have a piece of paper, you don't have to use a whole nother canvas if you don't want to, but I'm going to set one out and just show you how I do the 6. So these are the 6. And I'm just taking my piece of paper, the same size piece of paper, and making it into 6 quadrants. Just 6 equal rectangles or squares. And in each one, I'll do them this way. In each one, I'm going to make a mug. And they don't all have to be the same, just similar. And then I can decide, maybe I want this one to be a red mug, a blue mug. I can make an orange mug. Normally I would have this drawn out and I would have it on ready to go, but for the sake of now, let's see, this is a terracotta mug, a fun little green mug, and a yellow mug. And then I can start with my chocolate on my spoon. I can have it running down.
Just a question in the chat, Kathy.
Yes.
Could you have used paper towel to blot up some of the water where you were creating light spots on the mug?
Yes, but removing the paint with a brush is a better technique. You can, yes. I don't find it works as well, though. There's a sample of how you can do 6 in a hurry, or six different variations. There's 6 other ones, different colors. This is the original and the finished product. And this is where you decide what your signature is. So you can decide how you're going to sign your picture. And so don't let this be the last time that you try a watercolor painting. It can be a lot of fun. There are some paintings that when you do them over and over, you change your technique and you learn different ways, and just have fun with it. Let me know what you thought of today and white space and what you learned or how you've changed what you've been doing.
I absolutely loved leaving the white space and just that sense of something dripping down.
Yes.
It was so nice to do.
It is a fun one, isn't it, with dripping?
Yeah, it's just, I feel like having some hot chocolate, by the way.
The first time I did that with something dripping down, I did popsicles, and it was a hot day, and it was the perfect thing to do for that day too. So I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Kathy, I have a question about your signatures.
Yes.
Is it best just to pick one of the darkest colors from your picture to do your signature in?
Really, it's personal preference. There is an archival pen that you can purchase if you're able to get your hands on one, that gives a nice fine line. But I've only ever seen them in black, but I think you can get them in silver and gold too. So it's personal preference. Some people like to put their signature right in the picture so that it blends in. And then others like to put their whole name right across the far right side or something. And if you're doing a canvas, it's interesting. I've seen some canvases where the signature has been on the outside of the canvas.
Wow.
So you get the whole front picture, but you can still sign your art, but on the side.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering because sometimes I noticed that if there was no black in the painting and I picked black, it just really, I don't know, it stood out too much or something.
Right. Yeah,
So I thought it didn't blend in well.
No, and I think I did a combination on mine of the lighter brown at the bottom. So you can see down at the bottom in the chocolate.
Yeah, yeah.
The CW, so it sort of blends in with the picture.
Mm.
in the lighter chocolate. So that's, I
I
just made it
kind
lighter
of
brown.
went with what you did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So typically on the right-hand side is where artists like to sign. I think that's where, and you can date it there as well, or you can date the back.
Okay, thank you.
And if you date your artwork, then as you go through, the more you do, you can start to see how your art changes over time.
Thank you.
I tried doing a salt background. I really would love to teach to use the salt on a background, and I did some nice art. But salt is an interesting thing. So if you're thinking about even trying it on your own, wet your whole canvas and drop watercolor onto it, and then drop on some salt and let the salt dry, and then scrape the salt off with a ruler. Once you get that salt off, you'll see a beautiful background. So it's worth trying.
Yeah, I've used the salt in a seascape sort of landscape. We used it for the waves.
Right. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a really nice technique. Good for you, Patricia. That's cool.
You have one to show, Kathy,
I
close by?
can show you that I did. Let's see. Yes, I guess I can show.
Cotton string can be fun too.
Did you say string?
Yes, cotton string.
This is a salted watercolor background.
Oh, that's
Oh, it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
So,
Love it. Very
yeah,
nice.
but I'd love to teach you that. But this is a 2 class.
Oh, wow.
But I would love to teach you it. It is a very pretty, very soft looking background. And those are just dandelions. So, you know, it was fun to do.
There's a question that lingered in the chat. If you could answer, she says, what do you recommend getting long-lasting paint from? Do you have any tips on old paint to use before buying or new anyway, to make dried up to be more wet?
Just add water. Just add water. That's what the beauty of watercolor painting is. Watercolor can dry hard as a rock, and the minute you add water, it comes to life. If you had acrylics and it dried up, there's no life left. But if you have watercolor, always that you just continue to add water, and it will come up.
So there's no longer lasting watercolor paints?
There is student grade, and then there's artist grade. So you could buy the higher version. You could buy paint that is made by Winsor Newton, which is a more expensive paint if you can get your hands on it with the shortages right now. It could be tricky, but you could try and order it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Someone's asked in the chat, so I'm just going to answer for them. They've said they've missed past classes, and yes, they are available online. I've been able to get them up faster than before. So last week's is available, as so are some past ones. Our YouTube channel doesn't have as many as the Facebook page does, but just in case you don't have Facebook, the links are in the chat, but it's watercolor.creatingconnection.ca or watercolor TV for YouTube .creatingconnection.ca, and you can watch the review the videos, the recordings from previous classes there.
Yes, certainly, if you want to go back in and have a look and try any of the other ones that we've done, we've been doing this since April of last year. There was a break between August and September, but almost every week from April till now, there's a video that you can look at. Thank you, Gina. I'm glad you enjoyed the class.
Bye, Kathy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you very much.
Bye.